Welcome to The Longest Turn. This is episode 79, Hoplomachus. My name is Tyler.
Hello, this is Kevin.
This is Tyson.
In this episode, we're going to talk about all things Hoplomachus.
Oh, and there's a lot.
There's a lot of
There is a
Hoplomachus.
lot. It's more of a system that we're going to be talking about, diverging into a couple different games.
That's right.
Yes.
Yep.
And there is so much content that this game has a lot to offer, and so it may be a lengthy review, longer than other reviews.
Could be. And we probably won't cover absolutely everything that this system has to offer.
For sure.
But we're going to cover a lot.
Yeah. So that is, of course, published by Chip Theory Games. We're going to talk about some games that we've been playing lately, and then we'll get into the feature review. How are you guys doing?
Good. I'm excited the weather's getting warmer. I don't know about you guys.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right? Let's get rid of this snow.
I'm excited that it's Masters weekend, and
Right?
the best golf weekend of the year is happening right now.
You know what else it is right now? It's the Board Game Geek nominations for best of season, right?
Yeah.
I think that's open for a little bit longer. And then it's also different podcasts and board games and publishers getting them. I went through and I did all of my nominations. I have not in the past been as meticulous. I usually am like, oh, I'm going to go nominate my favorite podcast, or this game was really good, I'm going to go nominate that one. But I went through each category this year and I ended up nominating a bunch of stuff. And I think there's some really good stuff that came out within the last year.
Nice. Yeah.
We've yet to make the cut to even be voted on. So I'm
Well,
okay
eventually
with that.
enough people will win it that they can't be nominated anymore, and hopefully we'll eventually float to the top.
We just hope that there's no new podcasts that come out.
Yeah.
I've been
surpass us.
I've been a big listener of Blue Peg Pink Peg in my past, and I don't think they've won it yet.
Yeah,
and
but-
they've
okay.
been
But they
not
make the-
voted every time, right? Like they're in there. So I don't know. I don't know if the whole concept of we'll run out of podcasts to win it first will happen.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
well.
Well, I mean, just
You can always dream. Hey,
Yeah.
we could get there.
just being nominated would be fantastic.
Absolutely.
That would be great.
Well, should we talk about some board games? Hey, this is Tyler from the editing booth with a short announcement about how you can win some free games. Following a great March Madness, we had an idea for how to involve our listeners in some future episodes. Next episode, we'll be starting our own March Madness style board game brackets. We want you to join us and get a chance to win some games. If you're at all interested in filling out some board game brackets and competing against other listeners, all you need to do is join our Discord server and visit the Alpha Bracket channel for more details. Brackets for episode 80 have already been posted. In that next episode, we will be going over each bracket pairing and determining the host's collective winners. So join our Discord and get your brackets ready. If you can't or don't want to join but still want to participate, feel free to reach out to us via our email, thelongestturn@gmail.com, and we'll get you more details. All right, now back to the episode.
All right, I'll kick us off. All right. This is another game in the Magenta series. Okay, I've talked about a few of these already. This is from CMYK. It is called Fruit Fight. So is everything okay there? Okay.
I'm trying to be quiet with my eyes.
Pebble eyes.
I've got pebble eyes.
Falling into his
I look
face.
over to Tyler. He's like covering his mouth. Had some mishap with his drink. I don't know. Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, that's fine. That's fine. Not a big deal. All right. So this one is called Fruit Fight. It's designed by Rainer Knizia. We've talked a lot about Rainer Knizia games. He's one of our favorite designers. He does a lot of good stuff. And this game is no exception. I think it's a really fun, light game. So the way it works is you have 8 different fruits. There is a deck of 90 cards total. All right. There are 5 of the fruits have 11 cards, and then 5 of the fruits have 7 cards. All right. You shuffle up this deck. You flip over a card. Actually, you flip over 3 cards. When you get to the 4th card, if you flip over the same fruit that you've already flipped, then you lose all of your cards and it goes to the next person. Okay. If you don't bust, then you can stop at any time. You have the cards in front of you and you group them by fruit. Then it goes to the next person. Then they flip over cards. Once they get to 4, then they have the chance to bust. But the trick is when you flip over a card and somebody else has that same fruit in front of them, you get to steal all of their cards. Okay. Which could make it so you bust easier because you're taking cards from people. And if you have more than 3, then you have the opportunity to bust. All right. It goes around however many people are playing. If it gets back to you and you have face-up cards in front of you, you get to flip those over. They go into your score pile, and then you start your turn again. So the whole goal of the game is you're trying to survive and get around. So you have face-up cards in front of you. And it's a very chaotic game because you're stealing and you're getting cards from other players. There are cards that are more valuable than others. So there is a strawberry that is worth 10 points. So you're trying to get the most valuable cards and steal the most valuable cards from others, which makes for some interesting and fun situations. So you're hoping, you're like, I got to flip this. I want to flip this because I got to steal these from Tyson because I know he's banked a lot of cards and I got to cash in and I got to get him. And it's other exciting moments where it's the last person before you and you have cards that you're going to bank and you're just praying that they don't flip over the card that gets to steal your cards from you, you know, and it's fun. So you do that until you get to the end of the deck. And once that happens, you count the cards that you have face down and their value, and whoever has the most points wins. That's it.
This reminded me a lot of Flip 7 combined with Mantis.
I was going to say that.
Yeah,
right? It sounded like Mantis combined with Flip 7.
That's exactly what it is. Because you're Mantis, you have the stealing different colors of cards and trying to cash in on the biggest point value on the table, right? And bank those. Where Flip 7, it's that push your luck, trying to flip, but you don't want to flip the same value multiple times. Otherwise, you're going to bust. And we played this at Kevin's, and this was a lot of fun. I loved the experience with this. And that moment, you already said it, Kevin, but the moment where somebody right ahead of you is about to cash in big, and you're like, well, I got to take one for the team, regardless of whether or not I'm going to score. I got to try and steal their 8 watermelons that they have so they don't score 8 watermelons right now. Otherwise, they're going to run away with it. And you're just flipping and hoping you don't bust and you get that last watermelon in the deck. And it's a lot of fun.
And everybody's cheering around the table because you did it. Or they're
exactly.
they're groaning.
How dare you?
Yeah, they're groaning because you didn't do it. And you let him score all those points. Like you have any control over that, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. But it was interesting because we played Flip 7 the same night, right? So we were playing 2 games that were very similar, right? Because there's a lot of similarities to this
Very
one.
sure.
But
very true.
But I think both of those games are really fun push your luck games, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you like push your luck, and if you like Flip 7, this is a good same wheelhouse. Like it adds to the same system, and I really like it. And I think I even made that comment, Tyler, that it was like Flip 7 and Mantis, but nobody had played both of those at the table at that night. And I was like, oh, I wish somebody knew what I was talking about here. So the fact that you even had that realization was like, good, vindication.
Yeah, I've never played Mantis, so there you go. So that's a great game. I mean, if you like push your luck games, I think it's one that is worth checking out. So that is Fruit Fight from CMYK.
Yeah. So that was a Reiner Knizia game, right, Kevin?
Yes.
So speaking of Reiner Knizia, I've got a series of games that has 2 of them in it that are designed by Reiner Knizia that I'm going to talk about. This is Chip Theory Kids' Independent Play Collection. So Chip Theory was kind enough to send us this pack of games, and in it included these 4 different things. They're basically solo games for kids. When this package arrived, my kids, they're always, anytime a package truck comes to the house, they get super excited, regardless of whether the package is for them or not. Like if it's clothes for my wife, they're just ecstatic
it's
about
Christmas,
it. They're
right?
like, hey, it's great. It's a package.
It's way more fun than our childhoods where everything just came from the Walmart or grocery store.
You had to go to the store and pick it up, right?
Now
and you already
everything
knew
gets
what
delivered.
it was.
Yeah.
There's mystery here for them every time because they're going to open it and be like, it could be something good, it could not. So this was one of those cases where like I didn't tell them that this was coming and I'd gotten these, and I opened it and they were like, their eyes lit up and they saw all these games and they're like, those look really cool. Can we play those? I said, I got these so that you could play them. And they were like, we immediately tore off the shrink on these, and there are 4 of them. I've got 3 kids. I handed them out to each of them, and I taught them all the rules because they're very quick. So the 4 games in here are Sudoku Forest. You've got Tangram Adventure, Neighborhood Hide and Seek, and Pixel Party. Neighborhood Hide and Seek and Pixel Party are designed by Reiner Knizia. And so I pulled off the shrink on these, handed them out to my kids, and taught them how to play. Basically what it is they come in these metal tins, and these metal tins have magnetic pieces in them. And each of the magnetic pieces have a card that you select with varying levels of difficulty. That's the case across all these games. There are, I think, somewhere like 60 different cards in there. So there's a lot of variability, and they're usually double-sided. So you're playing different puzzles in these games, and they each have, like I said, these magnet tiles that are going to go on them. So Sudoku Forest, for example, is a basic Sudoku game. In it, they have these little magnetic tiles that have different varying animal faces on them, and the animal faces are going to be placed on a grid pattern card that you put in the tin. And then what I love about this is all of these games are travel friendly. So like I was able to take them with me when kids were in like activities or doing different things. Like we'd stuff them in our bag and like just they'd take them out and it would occupy them forever. But Sudoku Forest with the animal faces on each of these grid cards it's going to have rows and columns that have faces that are crossed out and faces that are not crossed out. Meaning that if there is a row with a face on it, that face of animal has to go in that row somewhere. And then there are other faces that are crossed out saying that, hey, this animal, the hippo, for example, is crossed out. You can't place a hippo in this column. So it's Sudoku. You're just trying to figure out where do the different things all line up so that I can put them all on there. Really interesting play. My oldest was the best at this one, Sudoku. He's 7 years old, and he really enjoyed this one. He was the one who clung to this one and thought it was really good. The other ones didn't really love that as much. Then you have like Tangram Adventure, which I think was our least played of this pack of games, but it's just, you have varying different shapes, and they have on the cards an overall shape that you're trying to build the puzzle, fit all the pieces in to create the overall silhouette that's in there, and you have to figure out how the shapes fit into it to match it. It's a tangram, if you've ever done any type of tangram kind of thing, that's exactly what this is. That was my kid's least favorite because it was very abstract and there was no kind of connection to them. And then Pixel Party, that was my youngest's favorite. He's 3 years old and he loved this one. Each of the magnetic tiles are polyomino pieces, and they have black and white checkers on them so that you have to arrange them in a pattern that makes a shape that is on the card. So like the cards could have like boats or dogs or ducks or, random different things that you're trying to build. And so you're trying to make these polyomino pieces fit exactly in the black and white checkered pattern that is shown on the like dog that you're trying to build. And so he was able to look at it, and I'd be like, does the black piece go there or does a white piece go there? And he was able to connect to that really well. And it gave him it was really good for the geospatial awareness. Mm-hmm. Really good. I liked that one a lot. But then their favorite one was Neighborhood Hide and Seek. This is one of Reiner Knizia's game, and it has it's a game where there are multiple different people, chibi kind of character art on the board. You got a basketball player and a cool kid and a kid with an aviator hat and a kid dressed in a dinosaur outfit. And you're trying to find all these kids, figure out who is the hide and seek champion. And basically what it is, you have, again, some polyomino pieces, but these are like acrylic polyomino pieces with magnetic metal bits in them so that they connect to the tin. And you're trying to arrange them in a way that all of the polyomino pieces fit in so that there's only one space that reveals who is hiding or who is the hide and seek champion. It was really abstract, and at first I didn't understand this one, but my kids loved it and thought it was such a clever puzzle. Anyway, all of these games, like I said, they come in a single box, the independent play collection, and they loved this game. And I think, like, as far as like activities to keep your kids busy when they're in a school program, like their siblings are performing in a play or whatever, or like church, or you're taking them out in public at a restaurant or whatever. These are perfect kind of travel companion games to like give them and play with them.
Because they're magnetic,
exactly,
right? So you're not going to lose pieces, or
Nope.
it's less of a chance to lose pieces if they're.
And it's all self-contained in that tin, so
Right.
like everything goes right there, and then you're just playing it, and it.
And I love the idea that there's varying degrees
Yep.
of difficulty.
Right.
I mean, if you go to their chiptheorykids.com website, like it highlights each game and from pre-K to 12th, what type of skills and what type of like geometry, concentration, math, science, literacy, and then it has
stuff.
different comments for those cards and stuff.
And I
like
really think it does
Yeah.
like teach those principles. Like it gives them the ability to problem solve and geospatial awareness, and like there's some math skills in there. I really liked it for them. Now, obviously, this is Chip Theory's kids line, so it's not going to be games that like you and I are going to pull out and play.
That at game night.
Not going to engage gamers.
But I will say there was some stuff in there that like I enjoyed solving the puzzles, like if I like with them, that it wasn't like something that it's just you're helping them with their homework kind of a thing. I liked the experience.
And a lot of kids games are, you enjoy it because you know your kids are enjoying
Yes.
it, right? And having that shared experience with your kids is awesome.
And
right?
and they often are learning something new, whether it's a game skill or something that will help them in school. I love watching the thought process
Yep.
as it evolves over each time a game is played, right? It's
Yep.
just fun to watch your kids pick up on concepts and
And you can see the light bulb go
Yep.
off, right? You know, their eyes get bigger and they're like, oh, yep.
Yeah.
I see how that works now, right? And they put two and two together. You're like, that's awesome. Yeah.
Well, and I also like, they see my game collection, right? And they know I have a game collection, and that's Dad's game collection. But they also like having stuff that's mine. Like I can pull that out and play with that whenever I want. I don't have to wait for Dad to do that one. Like I can play with that one, and I really liked that, and it lends them to like get excited about my games, because I've seen them looking at my game shelves more and more lately and being like, Dad, when can we play this one, like that they're excited about? And I love that.
That one's Anachrony. You're not going to play that one for a while.
It's Adrenaline. That's the one they keep looking at.
Oh, Adrenaline? Yeah.
oh, you can play that with them now. Right?
We're getting close. We're getting close.
I definitely, so that was the Chip Theory Kids independent play series, right?
Correct.
I've had these on my shelf. You let me borrow them. I haven't gotten to the point where my 4-year-old has played them yet, but now I really want to get him playing. He's been focused on a different Chip Theory Kids game, and that is Octo Grabbo. And if you don't know, Grabbo lives at the bottom of the ocean. He's an octopus, and he likes to eat lots of delicious food. This is a 1 to 4 player, ages 4 and up, 10-minute game. And there's 2 different tiers. So you can play basic Octo Grabbo, where you're trying to collect a crab, a clam, a squid, a goldfish, and a snail before everybody else does. Okay, and you have chopsticks in this game. And for little kids, there's an octopus topper that goes on top of the 2 chopsticks to help them hold the chopsticks together, which is really cool. The production quality, like everything with Chip Theory games, is really nice, really well done. They don't slouch on their kids' games at all. You roll a die, and if it's one of those food items, you get to pick it up out of the center area with your chopsticks and put it on your little seashell. And when you collect all of the food items, you win. And there's other things like if you roll a sneaky octopus, you get to steal one from someone. If you roll a net, you get to pick whatever food item you want. And if you roll the shark, you have to return a food item to the box or to the center area, right? So that's basic Octo Grabbo. That is where my 4-year-old is at. Did your kids play anything beyond basic
absolutely.
Octo Grabbo? Turbo Grabbo.
My 3-year-old loved basic Octo Grabbo. I felt it was very much akin to something like Candyland, and like there is fine motor skill and things that they're learning that's really great for them. But like me as the parent, I was just like, oh, I can't bear this.
No more Octo Grabbo.
It plays in like 5 to 7 minutes.
It's
Luckily.
super quick. Yeah. If it went much longer than that, I would have been crazy. But
when your 4-year-old wakes you up and says, "Dad, will you play Octo Grabbo with me?" You're like, "Well, heck yeah, I'm playing Octo Grabbo."
I will say,
That's right.
Turbo Grabbo was far more interesting for me and my older kids to play with.
So
him.
what is that one?
So Turbo, you have a stack of cards and you flip one over and it'll have a few specific the food things like the snail or the fish or whatever, and it's a race. It's just all out chaos.
It's a speed game. Yeah.
So everybody has chopsticks.
Everybody has chopsticks, and
Okay.
the little kids can still use the octopus topper thing to help them.
Okay.
But you're just trying. Whoever gets all the things on their shell first that are required by the card, they yell out, "I'm full!" And everybody stops. And if you check to see if they win, if they did it correctly, if they did, they get that card and get a point. Whoever gets the 5 points first wins. So
yeah, I feel like, are you just jabbing people with those chopsticks left and right? I mean, is there, did anybody bleed?
There's enough space because you're putting the box top itself acts as the player board. So you flip over the box top and that's like your ocean floor and you throw all the pieces in there. Okay. There's enough space in that box top that like people weren't like really getting in the way. And there's enough variety of pieces that you don't have to be going after the exact same piece.
Got it.
So I don't think for us there wasn't.
It's not a taco, cat, goat cheese pizza type thing.
No, it's not like bleeding, like stabbing fingernails into other people's hands kind of a situation.
Okay. All right.
But it was fast and frenetic. I will say it was more enjoyable for me and my older kids to play this way. But it's also, if you don't have the speed ability, like it requires a lot of dexterity, right?
Yeah,
and
you need those chopstick skills.
Yep, you need chopstick skills for sure. And if you don't have that, you're at a severe disadvantage and you're going to lose. We played recently again, within the last week. I taught my kids how to play this one, and they really like that. But that's the same idea of like rolling dice and quickly trying to place stuff. And you're at a disadvantage of players who are just quicker, right? Like it's not like it is a skill-based game, and if you have the skill, you're going to win. And so my kids ended up getting tired of that because they weren't as fast as me usually. So
Octo Grabbo, it's been a fun experience with Kate. He loves it. He wants to play that every day.
Well, it is gorgeous. Like you said.
Oh, yeah.
You said that
the art is just fun. The art is done by Stefan Wingen, and the game is designed by Zhao Wenzu. I'm sorry, Zhao. The production's amazing. The art's fun. I think it is about $20-$25 on a miniature market. So that is Octo Grabbo.
Nice. Next game I'm going to talk about, we're talking about a lot of kids games.
Yeah.
This is another kids game.
Yeah.
Hobby World sent us a review copy of this one, and it's called Memo Animals. Okay. This is designed by Philip Ivanov, an art done by Lyubov Nazarova. Sorry for that pronunciation as well. But this is it's a memory game. Okay. So the way it works is you have 16 cards, and on these cards there is one of 4 different animals. And those animals there's a fluffy cat, there's a mandarin duck, there is something that looks like a big antelope. It's called a saiga, I think. And then there's something that looks like an anteater that I think is called a desman. All right. So there's 4 different animals. And these animals are on one of 2 backgrounds. So there's either a winter background or there's a summer background. So you shuffle all these cards together, and then you place them face down in a 4x4 grid. And then you have these point scoring cards. They're called simple tasks or difficult tasks. So you put the 8 difficult tasks down, and then on top of those, you put the 8 simple tasks. And these simple tasks are, you have to find 2 ducks that have a winter background. And if you can find 2 ducks that have a winter background, then you get that task card. So what you're going to do on your turn is you're going to flip over one card, and then you're going to flip over another card. If you fulfill one of the task cards, you get that task. Then you get the points that are on that task card at the end of the game. If you flip over and you don't make a match that matches anything, then you get a card. It's like a helper card that's going to help you in future turns. So it will allow you to flip over an additional card, for example, or swap 2 animals to fulfill a task, or switch from a winter to a summer background if you don't quite match those 2 backgrounds. Okay. Once you reveal the tasks that are difficult, then you can then fulfill those difficult tasks. And those difficult tasks are, you have to find 4 animals that are, have different things, and different backgrounds. And if you do that, you get that difficult task card. So it's a memory type game, right? So you're trying to remember where everything's at. And then using these helper cards, you can use as many as you have to help you, meet the tasks. It was a lot of fun. And my 7-year-old absolutely loved it. My 18-year-old was there and was helping out. And after we played the game, she's like, that was actually a lot of fun. So she was engaged and she had a good time. And I thought it was a great game too. So it was a fun memory style game. It was pretty cool.
So how does it play pretty quick?
That's what I was going to ask.
Yep. It plays pretty quick. 10, 20 minutes. So
Nice.
It's actually really quick. So we played 2 times, and I played with my 7-year-old, like I said, and I said, do you want to play again? She's like, yeah, I want to play again. So she was super excited to get it out and play again.
Nice.
So Memo Animals. It was a lot of fun.
I had not heard of that one.
I forgot we had it.
Well,
And then I was looking at the pile of review games. And I'm like, oh, yeah, we got that one. Let me break that out and play. So we played, I think, on Sunday. So it was a good one.
nice.
Well, with Hoplomachus being so heavy and big, I feel like we've played a lot of like lighter games in between, right? Like, and that's true with what I am going to talk about next. It's a game called Happy City. It's a light game. I got this one played with our friend Eric. He had a copy of this after we had played a game of Arcs, which also happens to be a heavy game. Little side note, right? Arcs Blighted Reach campaign is on my Shelf of Shame list. I still haven't played the campaign because we've been sitting here trying to build somebody up enough to be able to get to this.
Increased your pool.
I have. And so I'm excited. I see a possibility that the Blighted Reach campaign could get played.
Because even I've played Arcs at this point.
You've now played Arcs,
Right.
Kevin, right?
Are you in?
Possibly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's Arcs is not a bad game at all.
I'd rather. Yeah.
Yo,
Yeah.
I'd rather poke my eyes out. That's what you're going to say.
I was going to say I'd rather play your copy of Unconscious Mind because I know you guys got to play that as well.
Yes.
And that would be my first choice over Arcs, but I would still play Arcs.
Yeah. But that's the thing, is that you'd probably have to play the base game of Arcs again before you could get into the campaign, because that seems to be the case every time I bring out Arcs. So we played Arcs. We'll talk about that in a future episode, hopefully once I try and break the seal on the expansion. But after that, we had a little bit of time left. Eric goes, hey, I've got this really quick game called Happy City. You want to try it? It's also, by the way, on BGA. I was like, I will play any game that I can play on the table and then immediately keep playing on BGA if it's good, right? And so we did. He broke this out. This is a game designed by Toshiki Sato and Airu Sato, and its art is done by Makoto Takami, and it's published by Game Right Games. This game has really fun, cutesy art that's really vibrant and colorful. I really like it. In the game, it's just basically cards and some tokens, and the cards all have this really cute artwork on it. There are various different colors, but they're all different buildings. You're trying to essentially build your own city out of 10 cards. That's the whole game, is you're collecting 10 cards over the course of the game. And once somebody collects 10 cards, you're going to end the game and score based off of your cards. So how that works is every round, what's going to happen on your turn is you have an income phase. During the income phase, every card has various income potential symbols on them. So they have cost on there and whether or not they earn income. There is a cost to purchase the card, and then there is potential income on the card. If you have income on the card, you count the total number of income symbols on the cards in front of you in your tableau, and you collect an amount of money equal to it. the game is laid out so that all the available buildings that you can purchase in the game are in 3 rows. And the first row has like, I think it's like costs of the cards are going to be something like between 1, 2, or 3 coins. And then the second row, all the cards cost 4 or 5 coins. And then the third row, every card in there costs 6 to 9 coins. So you're trying to accumulate enough points to be able to purchase stuff. Think of like space-based to some extent, where every round you're going to have cards that you're going to do that. It's same kind of payment mechanism in there as well. So as you're going through the game, you're going to collect your income, and then you're going to do an action phase. You can optionally discard one of the available buildings from the market. There are only going to be 3 revealed buildings at a time. And then you have a choice to purchase the card, one of the cards in the bank there. So you're going to purchase a new card and add it to your tableau. There are also some other types of like permanent cards there that if you can't buy something that is in the tableau or the market area, then you can buy some of the basic ones that are there, or some of the conditional scoring ones. Every card is going to have either a meeple symbol on it or a heart symbol, potentially. I guess maybe not every card, because there are some cards that have none of those and are just giving you money. But those are the way that you're going to score. So the player who has... you're at the end of the game, once all 10 cards are put in your tableau, you're going to count the total number of meeples on your cards as well as hearts, and you're going to multiply the 2 together, and whoever has the most points wins. It's really simple, really straightforward, but I found it to be like a really interesting kind of thought puzzle to put this together. It plays really quick. This was playing in like, it says 20 to 30 minutes on the box. I think like in a 2-player game, we were able to play this game in like 10 minutes, and we played it back to back because I was like, okay, let's do this again now that I've learned it. And I really enjoyed this one. And the fact that it's on BGA, I thought it was really fun, because then Eric and I immediately went and started a game up on there. It's cute. It's fun. It's nothing like... It's not going to blow your mind, right? Like if you like space-based, you'll probably like this game. But it doesn't have the push your luck element that like space-based does. So it's kind of maybe a different version of that. Like if you don't like the randomness and the push your luck element of space-based, but you want like that engine building tableau kind of experience, this does it, and it does it well. I liked it. So That was Happy City.
Nice.
I like those ones where like we learned Middle Ages. He taught us Middle Ages, and then we immediately started playing it on BGA. So
yeah, between the two, I think I like Middle Ages better.
Okay.
It's a heavier weight than this. Like this is really light, right. But like I also like the same thing, right? Like you play a game, you learn it, and then play it a few times on BGA to solidify it, and then
you've got it.
Then anytime it comes out, you don't have to think about it again. I love that.
Cool. Mm-hmm. Oh, that sounds fun. That's great.
Yeah, so that's Happy City. So I think that wraps up what we've been playing lately. Let's jump into the behemoth that is Hoplomachus.
The feature review.
Yeah, these were review copies from Chip Theory Games.
Yeah, and you mentioned that, like, before we jump into it, this was a game that I think both you, Tyler, and myself had an eye on, like, Victorum. Hoplomachus Victorum, right?
I have almost bought Victorum a number of times, and I just never pulled the trigger.
Yeah.
And I still haven't played it, but I got to play Hoplomachus Remastered quite a bit, so...
Right.
Yeah, so we'll start by jumping into the rules. Kevin's going to kick us off with a little bit of a rules overview. And this rules is going to be a little bit different than some of our other ones because we're talking about a system here. There may be some input where we're all jumping in on how this plays to some extent. So, Kevin, kick us off with the rules.
Yep. So I'm going to start off with Remastered. Okay, and I thought to start off the rules, set the stage a little bit with some theme in Remastered. So this is from the rule book. It says, the year is 79 AD. The minions of Pluto, lord of the underworld, roam the earth as the evil god threatens Armageddon. The best warriors of 7 nations have gathered in the Roman Empire to hone their skills in the gladiatorial arenas, counting on their combat prowess to defend against Pluto's destruction and win them glory on the pages of history. Though the nations duel each other to separate the wheat from the chaff, they are not the only ones with an interest in these bloodthirsty games. Pluto has sent his emissaries, the new Titans and Immortals, to defeat the gladiators before they can build up their strength. To stave off these supernatural warriors will require every ounce of strength the mortal armies can muster. So that's the theme of Hoplomachus Remastered. All right. So there are similarities between the two games, right? So it is a game system. Some of the key concepts in both of the games are that you have troops. Troops are basically your army, right? And as part of those troops, you have units. And these units are in, chip theory fashion, they are chips. Okay. And on these chips, there are various things. You have your movement. How far can this unit move on their turn? The range, when they do attacks, how far can they attack? There's health. And the way that you track health is there's additional chips that you put underneath your unit to track how much health you have. If you have 3 health, you put 3 chips under that unit. There is an attack on these chips, and the attack is using dice. So there'll be a number of dice that are on the chip, and you roll those when you do your attacks. There's different classes on these chips. And then there is skills. So every chip is going to have different types of skills, keywords that tell you what those units actually do. All right. There are also heroes. Heroes are a type of unit, and it's easy to tell what a hero is because they have big chunky chips. It's about
thicker, twice as thick, right?
At least twice as thick as a normal unit. Okay. They have a lot of similar things that a normal unit has. They got movement, attack, health, but they're just kind of beefed up, right? They have a lot more health generally, and they do cooler things. There's also an inactive side to those heroes. And through various game effects, you're either going to have your active side or you're going to have your inactive side on those hero chips. All right. And then where are you playing? There are arenas that you play in. And in Remastered, you have the Colosseum, and then you have, I think you pronounce it Pozzoli Arena. Okay. And these arenas, they're set up a little bit different, and you interact with the arena in different ways. In the Pozzoli Arena, there are these columns that are in the middle of the arena. And if you start your turn on these columns, you get certain benefits. In the Colosseum, there's different things that happen in the Colosseum, right? There are these pedestals, and certain armies will spawn on these pedestals, and there's just different things that happen. All right. Crowd favor is a big thing. The crowd enjoys when you do certain things, and you get crowd favor. And as the crowd favor increases, you're going to get rewards. And as you get further along this crowd favor track, you're going to get better and better rewards, even up to a secondary hero chip if you get all the way to the end. There's tactics. Tactics is another thing that you have in the game. And tactics will do good things for you and bad things for your opponent, right? So I'll talk a little bit more about tactics when I go through the game turn. So that is kind of the general structure and the things that you're going to see in Hoplomachus, both in Remastered and in Victorum. So the player turn. On your player turn, you're going to do one of 6 things. The first thing is specific to Remastered. You're going to check stone hexes. And I mentioned in the Pozzoli Arena, if you're on the stone hex, something good happens. That's the first thing that you're going to do on your turn. The second thing is the deployment step. So you have your camp and you have your troops. You're going to take a unit from your camp and you're going to put it onto a location on the map, a spawn location. And then you will put your health chips underneath your unit. That unit is now in the arena, but that unit is dazed, which means they can't do anything until your next turn, unless there is some keyword that lets you do something. But generally, they're going to be dazed and they can't do anything. Second thing is tactic placement. So these tactics you get to put on yourself. For example, adrenaline will give you +1 movement, or hamstrung you put that on opponent, and then that opponent cannot move and battle on the same turn. So there's various good things for you and various bad things for your opponent that you can put on them in the tactic placement step. Then you move according to your movement. Then you have an ability step. Certain units have a yellow ability that can be triggered. For example, hook is an ability, which means if you are within 2 spaces of an opponent, you can hook them within 1 space of you, which gives you a better chance to attack them. That's an example of an ability. And then you do the engage step. So the engage step is when you attack. You can do a special attack, which is something cool that you can do if you have that, or you can do a basic attack, which is you roll your attack dice. If you get hits, you take off their hit points. If there's no hit points left, then you get to remove that unit, opposing unit, from the board. That's the general flow of play, and that's what you're doing. You play until certain conditions are met based on what scenario or what mode that you're playing, and then go back and forth, and whoever survives the best is the winner.
I think the key to this system is that you have these dice, right? Like every unit has certain dice that they have access to, and each dice, there's varying colors of dice that have different probabilities. For example, you have a yellow dice, which has a hit on 2 of the 6 sides, right? And then you have on the whole other side of the spectrum, you have the red die, which has a hit on every single side of it. So there's
which is still fun to roll, even though you don't need to.
It's satisfying.
Have you guys ever just not rolled it?
Yeah, usually when it's the only die, I'm like, oh, I got it. It's a hit, right?
But it's satisfying to roll.
It's still to hear the click down your dice tower.
Exactly. Right. Because I play this game with my dice tower, I'm like, I have to roll it. Anyway,
yeah, exactly,
right?
Exactly.
But yeah, that dice system is kind of that power, and you're trying to manipulate the system to be able to give you the best dice and the best probabilities to defeat your enemies. Now, I will also mention that Hoplomachus Remastered, one of the main differences between it and Victorum is that Hoplomachus Remastered can be played 1 to 4 players.
Right.
Victorum, which I'll start explaining a little bit about that now, is the same system that Kevin just explained, more or less, except it's a solo-only game, but it adds a campaign feature to the game. So essentially, in Hoplomachus Victorum, what you're going to do is that flavor text that Kevin read at the start of this review is slightly different than the flavor text in the campaign. In the campaign, same type of thing. Pluto is upset with the heroes of Earth and decide to try and blow everybody out using Mount Vesuvius, right? So Mount Vesuvius is about to erupt, and he's basically made it so that it's the ash mounts of...
It destroys the whole world.
It destroys the whole world and blows up. Scadrial. But yeah, essentially, I had to throw a Sanderson
reference in there. Okay.
But essentially, Mount Vesuvius is about to erupt, and you have the chance to stop it by defeating Pluto through gladiatorial combat. And you're going to have a campaign where you're traveling throughout the area and trying to best the different primuses or the different anti-heroes, those who Pluto has recruited to his cause, and you're trying to stop them. And while you're doing that, it's leveling your character up and preparing you for the final battle of a Scion, which is essentially a big boss battle at the end.
Which is a number of different Scions.
Absolutely.
Right? There's a lot of variability there.
Yep. Exactly. And I will say, regardless of whether it's Remastered or Victorum, the amount of variability in this game, there's tons of different interchange. The systems are fairly straightforward for the most part, but it's that injection of variability in this that makes it really rich and rewarding to kind of go back to over and over again.
Yep.
So one of the main difference in the campaign is that you're going to be traveling on a mini map. And so during your turn, what you're going to do is you're going to have a travel phase, and you're going to travel somewhere onto the mini-map. In there, what you're going to do is you're seeing on your map there are different symbols of different types of events. So you can go to places where you have to go to an arena and engage in combat of some sort. There are sporting combat events, and then there are bloodshed combat events. A bloodshed combat is for keeps, right? Like
you can lose people.
Your people will die, right? And you like Kevin said, you have your troop, your army that you're building, but if you go into a bloodshed event, you have the chance to diminish that army and have fewer troops as a result of it. So
they go back into the bag.
Yep, and that's interesting, right?
That is
because
interesting.
Victorum has a bag building component to it, where all of the enemies go in a bag, and they're like,
and they come back.
Events.
You're like, no,
yes,
this guy came back.
Yeah, I thought I took care of that one, right?
Right.
But like, you're trying to go to these events, and you're going to get a lineup of different varying enemies, and they can come from all sorts of different factions or groups or things like that. But you're either going to do a bloodshed event or the sporting event. Now, the sporting events are interesting because there are a variety of different sporting events that you can do. You can do a sparring event, which is like a bloodshed event, except...
But it's not for keeps.
It's not for keeps, exactly.
Yep.
And you have to beat their rival tribute last. So you keep everybody else on the game board, or you defeat everybody else on the game board, but then you have to beat the tribute last, or at least you have to keep the tribute alive because you can't kill the tribute, or else you lose crowd favor and they hate you. Then there is, in another sporting event, you have Capture the Flag or King of the Hill. And it's very typical, if you've ever played Capture the Flag, same kind of concept. You're going to pick up a flag and return it to a space. King of the Hill, you're going to a specific location on the arena map, and you're trying to hold it for a certain amount of turns. Now, what I think makes Victorum interesting is the variety in different events that you can go to, but also the variety in arenas. Unlike
a lot
Remastered,
of different arenas, correct.
Yep. Remastered had what? You said two?
Two. So there's two in Remastered. There's Coliseum and then Pazuli.
And then Victorum has
like eight.
In the base game, it has 8 different arenas, and every arena has a set of rules that apply to it.
It makes it a little bit different.
Yeah. So like in one arena, you have a roaming beasts that are trying to get you, like Cerberus is in it and roaming, and they like release the hounds, as it were, to like, you have to focus on your enemy as well as random roaming animals.
Right. And then there's another one. There's a trident that's just hanging out there to be picked up and
Atlantis,
chucked at people. So
you're in Atlantis, and that trident is just there, and you can chuck it at people. Yeah,
correct. Yeah.
So there's a lot of variety of rules, and I think that really adds a lot of interesting variability to the game. And you're traveling and going to these different places to do different things.
Yep.
So you're going through this campaign, and you're basically just leveling up until you go through, I think in the base game, it's 24 different weeks, as it were. So like, it's a period of weeks, and every week is basically representative of a campaign turn. And once you get to that last week, you have to engage the Scion. And the Scion is a specific boss that has its own set of rules, and this is
similar to the Titans.
Exactly.
So there is, and I didn't mention this. The game modes are Onslaught mode, Skirmish mode, Ascension mode, Pandemonium mode, which is pandemonium, and then Alliance mode. So Ascension mode, you're battling Titans, and there's this progression of dice that you roll just a boatload of dice, right?
Yes.
And then you start from the top and say, if you roll a yellow and a blue, you do this.
This is what you do.
Yeah, and then if you roll a green, 2 greens, then this is what you do, or 1 green. And you just go down this list of things, and it's all nasty things that happen.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So that's similar to how it is for the Scion.
It's
right?
exactly the same. And and it adds a lot of variability, because every time you play the campaign, you can choose a different Scion to go after, and they can add different things. And there's other things in the game, like different opportunity events and different things like that are going to change things up.
And help you level up your character, or get prowesses for your character and that type of thing.
Yeah, I think in general, that's how we play it, right? Like, there is one additional thing I was going to mention, is that we also have some expansions in here. We have most of the expansions. I think we're missing one expansion, Aprilis and the Fool. But other than that, we have all the other expansions, and we've played all of those to some extent. And one of those expansions, I think Pandora's Might, is the one that merges Hoplomachus Victorum with Remastered. So you can take content from both and kind of exchange.
Talk about replayability.
Yeah, exactly. If you have all of this stuff,
really kicks it up.
You're going to have hundreds, if not thousands of hours worth of play in here.
All right. So we've talked a little bit about already what we like, a little bit about this game, but let's talk about the production. I think we typically start with that first. So terrible production, right, guys?
Ugh. Yeah, I mean, I don't even know where to begin.
This is Chip Theory Games, right? No, they're known for their production.
Yeah,
it is absolutely like amazing level production.
Yeah, I mean, you could go play this in a river, in a pond.
We joked about the fact that we could maybe have even just done this whole podcast in Tyler's bathtub upstairs, and
it would have been a little weird.
Yeah, it would have been a little bit weird.
we wanted
Maybe
the
if
hot
I had
tub.
a hot tub.
Come on,
Hot
that's
tub.
what we
Hot
wanted.
tub.
A bath full of Jello would have been fun, though.
Wow. Okay. Ideas for future episodes. This is great.
Yeah.
Goes back to the whole desert island of games that you could play on a desert island.
Games you can play in Jello.
Yeah, in a storm, you could play this anywhere. This game, I mean,
But not only is it durable, right?
Yeah.
It's
all the production is awesome. The art is super cool. I love the art.
the art's great.
The graphic design is done really efficiently in terms of what tactics and what different stats are on every little thing. Every character, every unit is a chip, which you're just stacking the health with additional poker chips underneath, and you're just losing health or adding health as necessary. And you only really need one reference sheet for all the keywords to reference.
Yeah.
And
There's
once
a lot of keywords, but once you play it for a bit,
you start to know what they are.
You start to know what they are.
Yeah, I think it's a fairly easy game to learn,
Yeah, it's not too bad.
even with all of the different modes that are available.
Agreed.
Yep. No, I would agree with that. And the chips themselves are hefty.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, they've got some weight to them.
Yeah.
Which is nice. It lends to the premium feel of the game for sure.
Yeah.
I love that part of it.
Well, and the neoprene mats are perfect for what you're doing, especially in like Victorum. Like you have a lot of different neoprene mats for the different stages, and it all goes in the box. I think the organization of the games is really well done. Like it all fits in one box, depending on which box I guess you're playing with, but like really well.
I do love that. I do have one minor.
I think I know what it is because it's the same one as mine, probably.
Yeah, one minor nitpick. I mean, the neoprene is great, right? But especially in Victorum on that small, because it is a pretty small map where you're traveling. There are little dots in between the locations, and there are some that I almost can't even see. And I was looking close to see if they were connected, right? So, and that's a problem with neoprene in general. I think is it's just not as crisp and clear as a normal board, right? And that's just the way it is. So that was just a little minor nitpick.
I think
for
the
me.
neoprene is high quality and well done.
It is.
But it's just
stitched. It's got stitch edges. It's great.
Regardless of, we had this conversation the other day,
We
Kevin.
did.
Like we were playing with Unconscious Mind, which has neoprene mats, and I chose to use the neoprene mats instead of the board because of the organizational aspect of it. Which was I appreciate the organizational aspect of like a neoprene mat, but I think what you're saying about Hoplomachus Victorum is what I feel about it as well. Is that board or that neoprene map for the map portion is just there are little path marks on there, and I totally missed like one of them at one point in time, and I was like, oh, I just went around in an area that I shouldn't have because there are these little map marks here that were hard to
tick
read.
marks, like, right?
If that had been printed on cardboard,
It would have been clear.
it would have been crystal clear, I'm sure. Like, and the trade-off is it wouldn't be waterproof anymore. So
There goes the Jello idea.
yeah, so you can't do the Jello experience. But like, I don't think, and I think you feel similarly, Kevin. So maybe Tyler, if you feel differently, I'd love to hear. I don't think that neoprene is as deluxe as it's put out to be.
This is what I was saying. Yeah, when we talked, right? That is always the deluxe version. Is the neoprene version.
And it's always like an add-on.
It's always an add-on,
Kickstarter.
and everybody views that as the premium content for a game. But I don't think that's the case, at least for me, because not only is it a storage nightmare if you get a bunch of add-on neoprene mats, not in the case of Hoplomachus, because
It perfectly fits in the box.
fits in the box.
Which I think is fantastic.
That is not for this game, but for other games, it's not premium to me. How do you feel, Tyler, about neoprene?
I could see that. I still love them, but
Yeah.
but at the same time, even though it does fit in the box. You roll it out, and it, you got the
wavy.
waveness to it.
It doesn't lay perfectly flat on the edge.
You have to leave it overnight and put a book on top of it.
But I still like them. I have a bunch of them, but I also have a stack of them in a corner in a guest bedroom where it's like, how do I store these?
Yeah, right.
And I've thought about different solutions for that.
But I
that's
think
neither here nor there for
right.
Hoplomachus.
But I think it is.
right?
But I think it does actually touch on Hoplomachus, because there's a lot about the neoprene mat for Victorum especially that I really like organizationally. Like, you have your rival units, and you have your camp for your units, and you have where your dice go, you have where your cards go, you have all of these different spots on the neoprene mat that honestly you don't need a neoprene mat. You could just have space on your table and do that.
Right.
But the neoprene mat does add organizational value to it, and it thematically pulls you into it. It's like got pictures of a camp, like a military encampment that you're trying to put stuff in. And so I like that about Hoplomachus Victorum. But the only complaint I have about the neoprene mat is that the map itself didn't have to be part of that neoprene map. You could have put a separate little board on there that would have been more crisp and clear and would have lent to the functionality.
Yeah. Another thing that I enjoyed about the mat is that you have the different arenas and you put a mat on a mat. Right.
Yeah.
it's like double thick neoprene.
And in my
right?
case, I've also got my game topper mat. That
I do as well, right? So I've got
neoprene.
layers of neoprene playing this game. That is cushy, right? That is
I have 4 because I also have my table's black mat on the bottom of my game topper mat.
That is deluxe.
Yeah. Wow. None of my components are going to damage.
I think it adds to the table presence, though.
It absolutely does.
The neoprene, you think?
Yeah. I'm never going to get out... my mind just went blank.
Dead Reckoning.
Ankh.
Nemesis.
Nemesis. That was the one I was trying to think of.
Sure.
I'm never going to get out Nemesis and play on the cardboard board. I'm just not. I have the neoprene. I love the neoprene. So maybe I'm in a
See, that's why I thought this
camp.
would be a divisive topic when I brought it up, right? Yeah. And I brought it up with Eric and Tyson. No, it was Ben.
It was Ben, yeah.
Yeah, you and Ben, and they're like, "Yeah, I agree."
Yeah,
but
I do love the feel of the neoprene.
Oh, I
do too. And picking up cards is nice.
But you do notice that the clarity is not always there.
Yes, and that's what bugs me about it. I think is the clarity piece. But anyway, one other small little thing about production is with the tactic chips, and this is just a very minor thing, but when you're putting a tactic chip like hamstrung on an opponent, it goes underneath their unit chip. So it can be a little bit to remember, okay, what is underneath that chip as far as the tactics go?
Yeah.
Which unit has that? Who has the adrenaline that gets to move? I don't know of a solution for that, but it's just a little. It kind of gets buried under.
There's some
chips,
unwritten rules that have been established in our plays, and Logan did some of this when we played. Right, there are some tactics that are permanent.
Yep.
That go under it. Like if it's under the hero chip or the unit chip,
if it's
temporary
it's permanent. But if
it's
round one,
correct. If it's temporary,
it goes on the top.
It goes on the top so that you remember to trigger it.
Yep.
And that makes sense. But then the ones that slide under that are permanent, they're easy to forget at times because you're not seeing them, right?
And I don't know that there's really a way around that.
There is,
unless you put on the edges of the chip.
Something.
Yeah. So you could do that potentially. Right?
I saw somebody's so in the files section of Hoplomachus on Board Game Geek.
Wow.
Somebody has created acrylic print files.
Wow.
That you can get acrylic overlays to put on. And they I looked at these and people playing them. Amazing. It over deluxified the already deluxe production of this game. And
Next
I was
Kickstarter for chip theory.
Yeah, add these acrylic overlays on it, and that would be phenomenal.
Oh, that's cool. But that's very minor.
Absolutely.
Minor. Yeah.
It's completely
the game is
nitpicky and playable as is.
The game is amazing as far as the production goes.
Well, let's move into then
one more thing. I love the trays that they come in, and you can pop these out and be playing in a couple minutes.
Yes, the setup is super quick.
Yep.
Completely agree with that.
No, and it's easy to clean up as a result as well.
Yep.
Organizationally, really well done. As a whole, for me, production is top line production, one of the best levels of production I've seen in any game.
Agreed.
All right, let's move into then what we like about this. And we may want to preface how we move into this about, like, are we talking about the system, about the things we like? Are we talking about specific remastered or different things? Like,
I think it's worth briefly talking about the modes in Remastered, right?
Yep.
Because you can play Onslaught mode, which you're fighting against the Immortals, and there's arena units that are getting deployed. There's 6 Immortal that you fight against, and you flip over randomly which one you're fighting against first. And before you can go on to the next one, you have to defeat that one. However, your attacks directly against that Immortal do not damage it. You have to defeat the arena units that are also coming out, or spend time on the pedestals in the middle of the arena to do damage to the Immortals. And it's basically survive however long you can.
Good luck.
I played a ton of this, and I don't think I ever defeated my 3rd Immortal.
I've defeated 2.
I defeated 2 a couple of times. I think Logan made it to the 4th one once.
Well done, Logan.
Yeah. Especially when the Beastmaster one comes out, because there's a couple that have the Beastmaster ability where they can control the movement of animal units that come out. And if you have a Beastmaster Immortal, the AI, the Immortal, can control where those animal units move. And some of them are hard to beat.
They're beefy.
And they move quickly. Like, I think it's a cheetah or a leopard or something. Mm-hmm. It can get
a lion or something out there. Yeah.
But if there's not a Beastmaster on the board for whoever turn it is, whether you're playing competitively or against the Immortals or whatever, the animal units just kind of roam.
Which is hilarious.
By dice roll, which is hilarious.
Yeah, I love that.
But I mean, Onslaught mode is 1 to 2 players, ridiculously hard.
And don't get the Immortal that has regen.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's hard enough to take any life from the Immortals.
Yeah.
But regen, they get a life back every turn. It's like, whoa.
And one other thing that makes them so difficult to defeat is when they roll successes, depending on what color die they roll a success with, they have a different ability that goes into effect. So one of them's like, it does extra damage to any of your units that are on the pedestals. And one of them, heals the arena units and things like that. So it's really hard. I think that's like almost expert mode.
Right. But then Ascension, I think, is a little bit more forgiving. You're playing against Titans, right? And we kind of talked about this a little bit earlier, where there is a hierarchy of things that you do based on the die rolls that you get. So these Titans are super powerful. You have a boatload of dice that you roll when they attack you. And then you go down this list of things. If you roll a yellow, 2 yellows, something's going to happen. If you roll a yellow and a green, something's going to happen. If you roll a black, something else is going to happen. And it's horrible, bad things that happen to you. But I think in general, it's probably a little bit easier than Onslaught. Have you played Ascension?
I've read the rules. I haven't played it. Logan's played it, and he said it was definitely easier. So.
Right.
Which is great, because that's basically what the campaign is for Victorum.
I do want to play against the Monkey King, because we've watched that animated movie, The Monkey King, a bunch in our house, and I do want to play against him. So
yeah, I played it twice. It's been, I think, a few weeks since I played it. I've been playing Victorum since I did play it. But I remember, I think I enjoyed Ascension a little bit more than the beatdown Onslaught.
Yeah.
Onslaught was fun, but I think I enjoyed Ascension a little bit more.
There's also skirmish mode. This is just 2 players competitively. I did this with Logan, and it was a lot of fun. Like any tactical game, though, he destroyed me. He's really good at Unmatched and War Chest. This game reminds me in a lot of ways of War Chest.
Okay.
Something that I kind of like that is a bit different is in War Chest, you draft different units. And so you might have some random combination of units, which can be really cool. But starting out with Hoplomachus, I love that when you pick a faction, you get a team of units, and they're all similarly balanced. They all have a tank. They all have a Beastmaster.
They work well together.
They all, but they're still varied enough with their abilities and art, and just that they have a different feel to them.
Which is what Remastered does, but then you look at Victorum, and it's all about drafting units. So it gives you that I remember that war chest kind of vibe in some ways, because you are building and creating your troops however you want with whatever units from whichever faction you want, and there's some really cool stuff in there.
So you win a sporting event, you get to recruit a unit from
the region you're in, basically. Usually.
Yeah.
So I thought the 2-player skirmish mode was great. I think it's definitely maybe the best competitive mode.
Well, how about Pandemonium?
So there's a thing there. We have
We'll talk about that.
Well, yeah, we played the game wrong. I just noticed that in the rules. There is a rule that was missed by the rules lawyer who taught us the variation of the game.
Which changed things up quite a bit?
It would have fixed one of our complaints, yes. In Pandemonium mode, it's
four
just,
players.
chaotic, everybody versus everybody, right? We played 4-player, and it was a very interesting experience. We had a lot of laughs. There were a lot of storylines that we, created, and
emergent narrative that came out of it,
which was awesome.
There was a lot of table talk and a lot of funny things that happened, and it was a good experience. We played something slightly wrong that kind of threw off the end of the game for us. So when you start your turn on a pedestal, you get one of your expended or discarded tactics back. Mm-hmm. Well, the part that we didn't play correctly is that when you do that, that unit has to go back to the base camp or the starting location.
So you can't camp on it.
It's almost like they play tested this.
Yeah, right.
And that's what should happen.
Because we got to the point in the game where our complaint was, somebody could just camp on the pedestal and continually heal or add health to their units and never get knocked off the pedestal. So we played that part wrong. So
that would have completely changed the game.
It would have changed the last 45 minutes of that game easily, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
But there were some funny, there were some fantastic parts of that game that were just a blast.
So we're talking about, while talking about that Pandemonium mode, it's not my favorite experience with this game, but there were some amazing moments in that, right? So I agree with you. There were a couple of times where it was just hilarious to watch somebody just get the game designed itself around. We had 4 people playing, right? And so everybody has different factions. What I really liked about it was that you can spawn at any spawn point. Yeah. And so there were certain times where people would spawn right next to you, and you'd be like, wait, what? Where did that come from?
But it's dangerous because you're dazed.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. But I think one of my favorite moments has to be, you already mentioned the Beastmaster, Tyler, and how you have to have a Beastmaster in order to control roaming beasts, because otherwise they'll go whichever way they want. But both Tyler and Kevin had beasts that they summoned, and there were multiple points in time where they either did or didn't have a Beastmaster with them, and they would go different directions. But
at one point, there was the potential that the last 2 units would be our roaming
beasts, and you're just hoping that they
randomly they encounter each other.
Yeah. Exactly. That didn't happen. But
what was hilarious, because in this mode, when you defeat somebody else's hero, you can get 2 units back.
Yes.
And my beast
was it the Leviathan?
The Leviathan, he died pretty early on. I defeated a hero. Hey, Leviathan's back. And then he died again. I beat another hero. Hey, Leviathan's back. So he just
kept resurrected on. Leviathan 5 times.
He by far took the most damage in the game.
Yeah, that was a fun story.
Yeah,
which sure. I do say Pandemonium is interesting in that mechanism that when you kill an opponent hero, you get to revive, or you get 2 units back into your collection, right? Into your troop that you can recruit from, which was really interesting because I felt like early on I did a ton of damage to most heroes. Like I brought heroes all the way down, but I couldn't clinch it and kill them. And then Kevin would be like, I'm gonna spawn right next to you and pop, you're dead.
Which that was the cool part, right? Is you could spawn in anybody's camp or in any area. Yeah. So there was a hero that was severely weakened. I spawned the guy who, what's the keyword? That
tactical.
Tactical lets you
attack when.
Yeah.
Or no, first strike allows you to do it.
First strike allows you to ignore the dazed for attacking purposes. So I had a guy that was ranged that had first strike, and I just, shot my arrow and took out your guy, and there comes my beast. Here comes the Leviathan again,
I had a bear that was a machine. I mean,
your
that
bear
thing
was
would
brutal.
just slaughtering other units like crazy. And anytime I could get a chance to, I would use the tactic to heal it and to add 2 health to it, right?
Right, yeah.
And so it lasted. It was one of my starting
It was the second unit you put out in the game.
And it lasted almost the whole game. Kevin's stupid hook ability. There would be turns where I'm like, okay, I'm about to get another tactic back because I'm on the pedestal, and then he would hook me off of it.
So, you didn't even get a taste of Kevin's hook ability. I'm sorry. Every time I got to a pedestal, the very next turn, Kevin would hook me off the pedestal. So I never got the perks of the pedestal.
Yeah.
Which that's one thing that I love about this game is it's thematic, and what you're doing feels thematic. So you guys talk about the hook ability. It's just hilarious to have somebody on a pedestal. You throw the hook out, yank them off, down, right? Yeah. There's the pushed ability that's just the opposite of that, where you push somebody off a pedestal or something, and then you take their spot, and then all of a sudden you're there. The special the abilities that you have are just cool. There was one I was playing, I don't know if it was Onslaught or Ascension, but I had the faction where the beast couldn't move. I think it's the rhino. And I'm like, it has zero movement. If I don't put the tactic adrenaline to give it movement, what do I do?
But it was the Kunlun faction, right?
I think that's what it was. Like you could throw.
They have hurl.
Hurl, yeah. So I'm
throw a rhino across the board.
Yeah, right. So I've got guys that are just chucking this rhino like across the board to get close to the enemies so that it can attack them, And like just the visual in my head of that whole scenario was just hilarious, and it was really cool. And I think a lot of the abilities lend
I think
to
that's what the system does really well, is that it knows where its weak points are from like a thematic point, but it like leans into those and be like, break the system so that you can do what you want. And when you're playing an AI in this game, it's really fun to sit there and be like, how do I use their turn and abilities to my advantage, right? Because you can, when you're playing with an AI, essentially, you're going to put your units in positions that activate their abilities in your favor. So, like, if they have a hurl ability, you're going to allow them to throw you into a spot that you want to choose, because it basically allows you to do that. And I think that's a fun, clever puzzle to figure out in this game, is that you're essentially trying to figure out, how do I use the situations that the game is giving me to create the best possible outcome for me.
Yeah.
And I had a lot of fun with those types of situations.
Yeah, I'm gonna move this guy legally first to block this other guy so he can't move where it's going to attack or hurt me, type of thing. Yeah, manipulating that. And the rules encourage that. They actually say, yeah, you should absolutely do these things to your advantage.
I got a unit. His name, this is one of the promo units. Like, we got a promo set of stuff. His name was Farouk the Smith. He's a blacksmith. And he had the, not absorb. What's the ability that allows you to take damage for somebody else? Intercept blow. Okay. So, like, you have the intercept blow. If you're adjacent to one of your units and that unit is attacked, you can intercept the blow if one of your unit with intercept blow is adjacent to that unit.
Oh, so like they're jumping in front of the attack.
Yeah, they're taking the bullet for him, right?
Yeah, that's awesome.
Well, Farouk had intercept blow, and his other ability was regen. So,
nice.
So, like, I'd be like, all right, I'm going to put him behind any attacking unit, and they're just going to kind of go as a unit together to go attack people. And every time, and usually I would do it with somebody who has taunt as well, which taunt is an ability that if a unit is next to that unit, they have to attack the taunt unit.
Right.
So I would force them to attack the beefy tank taunt unit, and then Farouk would take the damage with intercept blow, and then just heal the next turn. And so like it was just this force, like, and they would just barrel through things, and I was like, this is fantastic.
That's
but
cool.
those unit combinations are great. I had an infernal jaguar that could move 4 spaces on its turn, and it rolled a black, red, and a yellow die.
Oh jeez.
But it had a ability that allowed you to a special that allowed you to use those dice instead as a non-attack. So like either if I wanted to attack with it or use it as a special ability, it made it work. And so like finding the units that allowed each other to work together and building around it, like especially so like Victorum, I loved the ability to create my own troops that I could see, this ability would work really well with this other ability over here, and creating those was a really fun aspect of this system for me.
Yeah, so in Victorum in particular, the leveling up basically is what you're doing of your character, of getting those special abilities. That is satisfying. I thought that was kind of a cool part of it. The grand entrance for Krakenlance.
Yes.
Right? Where depending on how many units that you have on the board at one time, you get to roll yellow dice equal to the number of those units, right?
And it'll attack people.
And it attacks the strongest unit out there. So it immediately gives you an advantage potentially, right? And thematically, it's really cool.
Yeah.
He enters the battlefield, right, and does damage. Boom! He targets the strongest guy out there and does damage to him, or he fails miserably.
Yeah,
and rolls blanks because it's a yellow dice, right? But that leveling up of characters was pretty cool. Yeah.
I like the AI system. I felt like it's pretty easy to follow.
For sure.
To know which units of yours the enemy or the AI is targeting and which one they're going after. I felt like it was really pretty simple to follow in Remastered.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's the same system in Victorum, right? Where you're marking an eligible target first, right? It took me a little bit to read through it to say, okay, if I have to find somebody in range first, then I follow all of these steps. If nobody's in range, then I go back to the beginning and follow those steps again, the highest priority thing, right? But it is pretty straightforward.
Yeah, like, if I've got a guy on the pedestal, then that's who they're going after. And if not, then it's my strongest guy. And if it's not, then,
which is really nice. And in Victorum, they add even another layer to that where the arena rules will add specific targeting rules in there.
Like
but it's
printed
on the they're like a number of bulleted items that, or bolded items, and they're going to go for these specific things. So like there's one arena that has a chariot that you're like is constantly going around the arena, and like it's running people over and knocking them off and doing stuff. But if you can get on the chariot, then all of the AI opponents, their priority is to get on the chariot first and foremost. They want to get on it because it'll run people over and do different things.
That's awesome.
But then if they can't get on it and somebody else is on it, their priority is to attack the chariot unit and do different things. So I love the variety in like the system is all the same no matter where you are, but like the different like scenarios create different puzzles to kind of solve, which has been really fun for me. I've mostly played in Victorum. I've got probably between 20 and 30 hours put into Victorum. I've gone through 2 campaigns of the game in Victorum, and I think that system, like the variety in those different systems, is really well done, and there's a ton of incredible replayability in this game as a result.
Yeah, the arenas, I agree with that. I don't have as much experience in Victorum, but I have I've seen 2 of the arenas, and the difference between those two is awesome, right? So you've got the Atlanteans where the trident is in the middle, and it's a race to the trident, and the priority is for your opponent to get to the trident first as well. And then whoever picks that up has the option to throw it at somebody, do 2 damage, it sticks in that person. Then all of a sudden they have it, they pull it out, and they throw it at you on the next turn, right? It's just super interesting. And then the one where you're shackled with somebody else.
I love that one too.
Which you have to be right next to them. If who you're shackled with dies, you have to go back to your spawn point,
Well,
get
they
somebody else to be shackled to, and then go out again,
Like it makes me think of Gladiator, right? Russell Crowe Gladiator, right?
Yeah.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
And going into an arena, shackled to your opponent, and like having to figure out that situation.
Right.
They also in that arena have weapon racks.
Oh, weapon racks. Yes.
In there,
Yes. Which
that
is awesome.
give you a specific die to whichever unit is occupying the rack or next to the rack, right? Like
you kill that unit, they drop the weapon, then you can pick it up.
and now you have an extra die roll to be able to do different things, and it makes. I thought it was really well done, like from a thematic kind of element to the whole scenario.
Well, and then the cards that for each of the battles, right? For in Victorum, so it changes the rules even further, right? There's one of them. I don't remember if it was a bloodshed event or if it was a sporting event, but when a unit was deployed, I would roll a die. If it was a 1 to 3, you would take off a hit point from that unit. If it was a 4 to 6, you would put a hit point on that unit. It becomes stronger. And it added that variability and that like, oh my gosh, what's going to happen to these units that I'm going against? Am I going to have an advantage, or are they going to get stronger based on this random die?
Yeah, and we did talk.
And then there's flavor text on the bottom that adds a little bit to it as well.
So like what you're talking about is in Victorum, there are decks of cards for every type of event that you can do, and we didn't really talk about that very much.
No.
But like it's a thick deck of card for every different one, and you can go through and read that card, and it's going to change up the lineup and change up the rules to that specific fight.
Right.
So you're not just doing a bloodshed event; you're doing a bloodshed event that has these unique little stipulations to the rules here.
You have to do a capture the flag and not kill any opponents.
Right. Exactly.
It's like something like that, which is crazy.
And it makes it really hard. And like it adds a lot of variety to this. And I will say that so playing, if you like the variety in this game, you can add Pandora's Ruin as an expansion to this. And I added this in my second campaign. And it has 5 different modules in this as well that create additional variability. One of the modules allows you to have additional scions, so bosses, essentially like your titans and your immortals, right? Like it gives you different options for those. Another one gives you options to be able to add more location information to the map. So like you were talking about the arenas, right? So it allows you to make your arenas have a double-sided card that gives you the original rules, arena rules, but then has an alternative style play. And every time you complete a battle in one of the arenas, you have to flip the card over, and the next battle is going to use these separate set of rules. So it's like instead of having 8 different maps, you now have 16 different maps for the game, and it creates a bunch of things. The other thing is it adds a Primus deck. So we already have the other decks of cards for all of these different variety. It adds a Primus event. But I think the best thing about the expansion for me is that it creates a Mercury's Boot expansion, which Mercury is the messenger god, right? He's fast, quick. It speeds up the campaign.
Yep.
Which I think lends us to, if you guys are okay,
Maybe a
let's
few things that
move
we
into
don't
some
like,
of the
right?
negatives maybe, or some things that we're not overly satisfied about this.
There was one more mode we didn't talk about. Alliance mode.
Alliance mode. Has anybody played that?
4 players, 2v2 teams. We did not play that.
I think we-
So that's the one mode we missed on Remastered.
Yeah. But again, it lends to the whole fact that there's so much in here.
Yeah,
we've put tons and tons of hours into this game already, and we haven't touched it all.
I have a question before we get into the stuff that we maybe don't like as much. So you played 2 full campaigns.
I have.
Like, how much of the game do you think you've seen then? Like, have you seen 50% of the game, do you think? Like, playing 2 full campaigns or?
I've seen every arena type.
Okay, right.
I made sure to play every single arena type.
Right.
But there are those decks of cards are so thick. I've probably played maybe half of each of those decks, maybe.
Right.
And then, so I haven't played all of that.
And then expansion content you probably haven't gotten
right.
through all
And
of
I've
that.
only played 2 scions. So
out of like 8 scions or something like that?
With the expansion content, I think it's like 12 or something like that. So like
Wow.
I've only played 2 of 12-ish different Scions, and they all have different play styles and different objectives and things like that. And there's other, I've probably in 20 to 30 hours, maybe 30-ish% of the game I've seen, 40% maybe.
That's
somewhere in there.
That's awesome. That's pretty cool.
So there's tons of content in it to be played.
Yep.
And if this is your jam, like you can enjoy this game
For a long time.
indefinitely almost.
Yep.
But so going into some of the maybe negatives of this game. So the base game of Victorum, where I want to kind of start with my nitpick, is that in the campaign, you have, like I said, 24 weeks, which is world turns. But each of those turns is going to consist of a battle, which has a lot of different turns in it, battle turns in it. So you're going to go from location to location and try and level up. And for me, as I was playing it, it started to feel really grindy. Like I was doing the same things over and over and over again. And there is some breaking up of the monotony there because you're trying to get to the Primus battles. So every age or every act, you have a Primus battle, which is battling an elite unit, a hero. But I found myself ready for those sometimes, and like I just couldn't get to the part of the map
where you're supposed to get to
in time to do it. And so I was like, okay, well, I got to do this. And it felt like I was just grinding through some things. And so for me, it felt long.
Yeah.
The campaign itself in its base version felt very long.
Yep. I feel the same way. I have not played nearly as much. I haven't got through a full campaign. Actually, I haven't even got through the first act. I played about 10 different battles or, working up to the first, not Scion, but
the Primus.
Working up to the first Primus. But even that much for me kind of felt grindy.
Yeah.
Even in the first act.
Well,
right?
and they do stuff to change like modifiers, Primus modifiers and things like that, or act modifiers, so that it ramps up the difficulty and changes things.
They do. So every act will add something. And I do remember reading that. I didn't quite get to that point, but it was a slow build, right? Because every time you win, you maybe add one thing. Or if it's a bloodshed event, you're going to add 1 health. Or maybe you upgrade 1 die. So it's kind of a slow build. It felt slow to me and a little bit grindy to me. So much so that I kind of lost interest.
Well, and you maybe don't want, like, you can fight the Primus at any time as soon as you get there.
But I'm at the point where I have to make it there.
But you have to make it there, and if you fight the Primus, it ends that act for you.
Yes. And you go to the second act.
And then it increases the act difficulty. So you have to, like, part of you're like, I need to grind to be able to be prepared to do the next act. But I also just kind of want to skip to this Primus, but maybe that's a bad idea, right? And so I felt like, I wasn't super happy about that. I will say that the Pandora's Ruin expansion with the Mercury's boot module fixes everything that you just said.
Right.
It speeds it up, allows you to travel around the map faster.
Yep.
It also makes it so that when you win a battle, you take multiple benefits, not just one thing. So like you can take a lot more benefits and like beef up faster. You can fight multiple Primuses in a single act, and you're going and fighting the Primuses basically whenever you want. I played Pandora, she's a character that you can play, and she starts on the Vesuvius capital.
Okay.
And because she doesn't have a nation that she's loyal to, that meant there was a Primus already there. So my very first turn in the game, I fought a Primus. I was like, I'm going to do the Primus fight the very first turn. And I did that, and I was like, this was really cool. I almost died. My whole troop got wiped out except for her, and like I had to spend a few blessings, which we haven't talked about,
right?
Which is like just mitigating.
It's like
stuff.
A do-over, right?
Yep.
All of a sudden your hero's back.
Yep, exactly. And so like it was costly, but it was also like an epic experience for me, and I thought that was really good. But the base game, that's my problem, is the base game is slow, and I if I were to play more of this than the 2 campaigns I've already played, which I probably will, but like I would never play without Pandora's Ruin added into
Yeah,
it.
you recommended I start with that, but I'm like, okay, it's different enough from Remastered that there was a lot of stuff thrown in that I'm like, okay, I'll just start with the base just to get that experience. But yeah, it sounds like start with the expansion right from the
I think
get-go.
you start with it like out the gate because, or if you don't, just do one act of the base game to get your feel for the game, and then
Go into
scrap it, and then do it with the expansion. Because I think honestly, for me, the expansion becomes essential with everything it adds. Like, I would not want to play this game without the expansion. Cool. Now, there's other stuff about the game that I also had some nitpicks on. Do you guys have any other things that you want to talk about, nitpick on, things you don't like?
The one big thing in the pandemonium mode is that at the end of the game, it just comes down to there's a huge potential for king making there. And that doesn't always feel great after you're playing a 3-hour game, right?
Yes.
Or while finishing up a 3-hour game.
Right.
So that's something to be aware of. That whole experience was fun, but at a certain point it becomes there's potential there for king making, and
for sure
that doesn't always feel great. But
yeah, and that's the similar with other skirmish style games. That's just the way it is.
Yeah.
You know.
But I think there are ways to mitigate that to some extent. Like, Tyler, you kind of like talked about like Fortnite, games like Fortnite, where the arenas themselves start to shrink, that force engagement to happen.
yeah,
right?
I almost wish there was
like, I wish they had something that said, "Hey, you cannot," because
you can't turtle. What are you doing in that corner?
I lost all my units but one at the end of the game, and the optimal strategy for me
was to help Kevin.
No, before that,
It was the same for
optimal.
Logan was down to one, and it was like, well,
it was to turtle. No,
Yeah.
it was to turtle first, right? Like, the optimal strategy was I went in there. The only reason I helped Kevin was because we formed alliances, and then it became more optimal. Right? Like, if the alliance wasn't there, the most optimal strategy for somebody who is like, there's no incentive to make you move and engage in a battle. If you're watching two people duke it out, you don't have any. I'm just going to see what happens here. Right?
I did that earlier in the game. Like, I would, insert myself into a battle, and then as stronger units were starting to approach, I would kind of pull back.
Run away.
Those armies would fill in, or those units would fill in and fight each other, and then I would re-engage. I loved that part of it, but at a certain point, it becomes key-makey, or everybody can just turtle and not do anything. Like, at one point, it was a 3v1. I was like, I have no incentive to go after anybody. I'm just going to pull back, right?
You're going to weaken yourself attacking somebody, and then the other person's going to fix
And
you.
I don't think that type of an implementation would have to wait until, like, the last part of the game. Like, Fortnite is at a certain period of time, the arena starts to shrink, right? But, like, thematically, it makes perfect sense to in a gladiator arena, you have somebody with a bunch of halberds, right? Like, or spearmen that are like prompting the fighters in forward. Otherwise, they're going to get pushed against it, right? And like, if you're waiting for, like, your person hasn't moved for 2 turns, they're going to get poked into the center and start dying, right? Like, you cannot stay, right? There's ways, I think, that you could improve that so that you can't camp. That doesn't necessarily solve the king-making issue, though.
No.
And we're talking about house rules here, right?
To be fair, we played the rule slightly wrong.
We did.
With the pedestals. Yeah. So I think we would have had a different experience, but I still think that there is
the potential for king-making is still there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So that was a negative for me. Everything else, I mean, aside from just getting destroyed in onslaught mode, I loved the play of this game.
Yeah, and even getting destroyed in onslaught mode, it's a challenge, right? Yeah, and you don't want a game to be easy.
No, I don't. Because want to beat all 6 on my first try.
When you finally do it, you're like, "Wow, that was amazing!" You know. So
I'll let you guys know when I finally beat all 3 of the 6 immortals. Like, it's not easy.
No, it is not.
But that's that sounds like a feat, right? Like it sounds like an accomplishment. It doesn't sound like a bug to the game. It seems like a feature to the game because they have all the other modes where you can hone your craft and start to improve.
And depending on who the units that come out, it forces you to think differently instead of just run ahead and attack or, go jump on the pedestal and camp there or whatever. I don't know. It forces you to think differently. Like you said, to figure out the weaknesses of the units that you're facing.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a puzzle, right? You're trying to figure out the puzzle.
Yeah, and how
which is cool.
And now we're getting back into things we like, but
I do have other nitpicks that I wanted to mention, but staying on that for just a second, I think that, like, to me, the idea that there is a mode that is incredibly difficult to do is great. Like, Victorum has scalability and difficulty, so you can do like chosen and heroic,
basically,
or like
less
right, exactly.
You don't get as many blessings, which is your respawn,
and there's other like minor little tweaks to it that make it more difficult for sure,
something like that.
Yeah. And it just makes it harder, and those types of like difficulty scalers I've never been like that happy about, like that. It make me feel more creative, and the fact that like Remastered now has these modes that you can play, and one is inherently incredibly difficult. It's solvable, but not gives me the vibe of something like a Pandemic cooperative style game, where or Cthulhu Death May Die, where it's like you're looking at this and you think, how am I even going to pull this off? But when you finally pull it off, it's like, that was worth the wait. That was awesome. But to have the other modes on top of that, allowing me to still enjoy it and not always feel completely defeated by it, that's great.
Yeah, no, the variability in the modes is awesome, for sure.
So I have one more nitpick.
What is it?
That I want to mention. It is, so when you read, Kevin, the thematic introduction to this game,
right?
Like, it sounded awesome to me.
It does sound awesome.
And honestly, reading Victorum's like introduction was even more epic to me.
Yeah, it's twice as long. It's got more story build up from the start,
and it gives you the sense that like there is something epic and heroic occurring in this game, and like I'm excited to find out what narrative comes out of this. Like
how I feel my part in that role.
How exactly? Right. Where do I fall?
Pluto will go down.
Yeah. And I felt that, and I was like, I read it and I was like, okay, now I'm going to learn this game. It's really awesome. And I spent the hour going through the rules or whatever and setting it up and doing all of that. And then I was like, all right, now let's go back into this like epic narrative experience. And I played through the entire campaign, and I never felt any sort of like narrative approach to it other than what we've talked about, to like you build your own emergent narrative, which is really cool to see, like that type of stuff. But there is no like, okay, you pick this bloodshed event because of this storyline effect, or like this. They have like these opportunity cards that are flavory, like,
and there's flavor text on the cards themselves, but it's just tailored specifically to that card and what you're doing for that event, right?
But there is no narrative. But you have all these variety of different heroes too. And like, I don't get backstory really on any of these heroes, or like I don't get a sense of what is their purpose and how are they doing that, and how should I be playing. Like, there's no role playing experience to this. It's just purely tactical and strategic in what you're trying to do.
But there's this big book at the end you can read.
There's an epilogue.
There's an epilogue.
So I didn't touch the epilogue because I was like, oh, that's it's thick. It's this giant
there's your
epilogue.
satisfying ending, right?
I didn't touch it until the very end because I was like, this is going to be awesome. It's going to at least tie the story that I saw from the beginning to this point. And I crack it open, and you look for your hero that you fought with, and you look for the scion that you defeated, and you read the conclusion. And I was like, this conclusion doesn't even match up with what happened tactically in my experience. Like, what is going on here? Like, there was no narrative tie-in to me, and it was just like, it was very brief, and it wasn't exciting to me, and I was a little bit let down.
This reminds, I don't know why, but it's like Ralphie with his secret decoder ring, right? And it's like, don't forget to drink your more Ovaltine. Right? It's just not as satisfying.
That was the experience. Yes, that was exactly the experience I had, because I was like, I was waiting for this big epic
commercial.
Right.
No, and
A crummy commercial? Son of a...
so I was like, that was so bad. And then you add the Pandora's Ruin heroes into it, and they don't even add an epilogue for any of those heroes. So I was like, oh, come on. You're not even giving me the flavor of that. And
It's a little disappointing.
So if you're getting this game
Right.
because you think you're going to have a narrative kind of experience with it, that's not what this game is about. There's so much good about this game, but it's not for the narrative experience, I don't think, personally.
It's fair. Yeah, it's fair.
So any other final thoughts before we move into our final thoughts?
I mean, something else to be aware of. I don't know if this is a negative. This is kind of a neutral point for me. It is very luck-based with the dice, right?
Yes.
There's very little... I don't know if there's any dice manipulation, right?
There is with the Pandora's Ruin.
There is a little bit there? Okay.
You can spend your opportunity cards to re-roll a whole roll.
Oh, well, there you go.
That does solve that again, but I
With
thought
the
same thing.
expansion.
With the expansion only.
Yeah, what I have gotten to, it's just you get what you get when you roll. Which, I mean, I like dice. I just think they're exciting. They inject that randomness in there where improbable things are going to happen, which makes it exciting.
Yes.
And makes it fun. Can also make it a little frustrating at times, right?
It feels
then-
great when you're rolling hits with yellow dice.
Yes.
Oh, I love that.
Terrible when you roll misses.
Which
with
reminds
black
me-
dice.
Black dice, right?
Yeah.
In our Pandemonium game,
Oh, my yellow dice.
you
were
had
on fire.
3
Oh,
yellow
yeah.
dice and a red die, and you got
It was the
3
bear.
hits
It was the
against
bear.
me every single time with that bear.
Yeah.
And somehow I'm rolling red dice and getting misses. Okay, maybe that's not
It
happening.
was
That's
the
not
black
happening.
die, though, for sure.
It was the black die, yeah.
One thing that I did see on their website, so I was looking to see where this is available, and I know we're about to get in our final thoughts. It's Remastered and Victorum are available on Game Nerds. It's also available on their chiptheorygames.com/store. One thing I saw, though, coming, expected delivery in Q2 of 2025, Hoplomachus Victorum mag tokens. So you can have the hamstrung
Oh, yeah.
in their little,
I did see those.
kind of rook looking little tokens that are magnetic, and you put them on top of the chip so you can still see all the abilities and the
Whoa, for the tactics?
yeah. So you can still see all the abilities of the unit and also know what tactic.
And that's a good point. We don't even have
Nice.
all of the deluxified components. There's
Oh,
more
there's
deluxe.
there's like metal
components.
dice.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
Okay, more about the components. Sorry, jumping back just a little bit. The dice that come in the game are incredible.
Yes.
Right? They got the swirls and everything. You can get even more premium dice than that because they're the metal dice. I don't think I even want the metal
I know,
dice
they're
because
great level.
The base dice in the game that we got are just amazing, and they look great. But I love the fact that they have all of this extra
Yeah,
stuff.
you can-
that you can
You could deluxify this game to the
heck out of this
nines,
game.
right? Like, yeah.
absolutely, absolutely.
But like I said, there's a couple. The base games are available on Game Nerds. Other than that, it's slim pickings, and you just need to go to Chip Theory Games to buy them right now.
Yeah.
Nice.
Well, let's move into our final thoughts. Let's
do it.
the way this works is that we're going to each give our final thoughts, and then we're going to give an overall rating on a scale of 0 to 100.
And we learned last time we did this that Tyson does
Is capable.
he's capable of
a
doing
non-
partial non.
That's the only time that
10,
you'll see that
non-tens.
happen, I think.
10
We'll see.
based, cool.
Because I even thought about it with this one. I was like, would I put myself in,
You already thought
in a
about this?
5? I know what I'm rating this already. So, I've already decided that was a rare occasion with the last one. So
But that's how we do it. That's how we do it. Who's going first?
I'll go first. We've already talked about this game ad nauseum, right? Like, And there is so much to love about this game. I am floored by the amount of variability in this game. And for me, I primarily played this solo. And as a solo player, I love a lot of different solo games. I love about this game its ability to create tactical experiences. It feels like playing with an opponent on a tactical, like war chest type of an experience, like Tyler mentioned. And I love that I can get that kind of an experience in this solo play. I mean, I guess you could talk about Gloomhaven and how you could get that in there, but there's so much setup and takedown, and there's a lot more involvement in something like Gloomhaven that I'm especially wanting to experience that kind of a game on, like, with multiple people. This, because it's just that tactical awesomeness, like, I can get the experience I want in a solo experience and have fun. But then when I play Hoplomachus Remastered and can play it with somebody, I really like that. I wish that there was a mode in here that allowed me to do the campaign to some extent with, like, cooperatively, like with a second player, or maybe even if there was some competitive aspect to that would be fun to me. That's the only thing I think this game is missing, because it has every possible mode that you could ever want. I like a lot that is going on in this game. As we mentioned it already, I had looked at this game previously and considered buying it. I never pulled the trigger. One of the big things for me of why I didn't buy it was the price point. Like, at the end of the day, this is a very, for a solo only experience, there's a lot of things I can buy at a different price point that give me good solo experiences. Now, I think that this gives me a great solo experience, and I am super happy to have it. I could see myself having now experienced this, looking at it and buying it. I don't think I would probably buy all the content, because there's so much variability in this game. I could see myself buying Hoplomachus Victorum and the Pandora's Ruin expansion. That's, like, all I need. And I'm satisfied with the level of content that provides, that I would be able to play it, like, for a very long time. So at the end of the day, I think this game is great. If you're doing it for solo play especially, there's so much to love. If you're doing it more for like the Pandemonium experience, that was not my favorite experience with this game. I would play this, the 2v2, would love to play it with more of the kind of multiplayer experience. But for me, I think that the game shines in its solo aspect, and that's where I'm kind of viewing this. And so I'm really I highly recommend Hoplomachus Victorum as a solo game. My overall rating, I'm going to put this at an 80. I think it's a really good game. I think it's one of the better ones, and from a production standpoint, this is phenomenal. You won't get a better, like, solo production out of a game than this, I think.
All right. I'll go next. I agree with a lot of what you say. I think the way to play this game, at least for me, would be Victorum, right? And that's because of the way that you can level up your characters. It's a little bit light on narrative, like we had talked about, but it's the emergent narrative, right? Like you're building a story as you're playing, which I think is cool. I love how thematically what you're doing is tied to your actions. We talked about the hook ability, the push ability. Like me envisioning what's happening in that arena is fun, right? It's cool to build that story as you're playing. Talked about this already a little bit. At least with what I played in the base Victorum, it got grindy, right? And I lost a little bit of interest pretty quick in the game because of that. I want to go back though and do the Pandora's Boots expansion, because from what you've explained, Tyson, it seems like it fixes almost everything every issue that I have with the game, right? So I'm excited to go try that out again. As far as total rating for me, or final rating for me, I'm going to give this a 75.
I knew that was where you were going.
You knew a 75?
I knew it was a 75, because I had debated, is this a 75 for me? And I said, nope, got to go 80.
which is still, I mean, it's still really good, right? A 75 is really good. This game does a lot of good things. I'd happily play it at any time. And it is such a premium experience, right? The production is just off the charts, and it's fun to get it out, right? It's fun to unbox it. Like you talked about, Tyler, it's so easy to get out and play because everything is in its own place,
Yeah,
right?
Pick your faction
and you're done.
What mode you're playing, especially if you're playing solo, and it's like boom, boom, boom.
Yep.
Put a few chips in the bag, and you're ready to go.
You're ready to go. Yeah, which is awesome. And I really appreciate that about games. You get some of these Euro games nowadays that it takes 45 minutes just to set up the game. And they're great games, right? But I appreciate a game that is meaty, that just it's on the table ready to go, right?
And that's
almost out of the box.
That's especially true for me
great.
when I'm having a solo experience, right?
Absolutely.
Like
yeah.
I'm willing for a big game night where a bunch of people are coming over to set up a game. It's part of the excitement for it. But if I'm
Agreed.
setting it just for myself,
Exactly. Voidfall is the prime example.
yeah, absolutely. But if
Yeah.
I'm just playing for myself, I want to get into the game. I'm
just
not,
go.
I'm not
Yeah.
anticipating the arrival of anybody else. I want to get into the game, and this does that well.
Yep. So 75 for me, Tyler.
So my rating is completely based on Remastered and my experiences there because I didn't get a chance to play Victorum yet. I really want to play it. I'm looking forward to trying it out. It sounds fantastic. I loved all my plays of this game. The skirmish or the pandemonium mode.
Love is a little bit of a stretch.
Yeah, I loved the gameplay up until the last half hour. Right.
Which the rules. We talked about that.
So, and we didn't talk about Pandora's Wake. It's another expansion. There's a mode where you're in boats and in the arena. I can't wait to play that, and I'm going to talk about that on the next episode. We did experience the Vesuvius faction. Logan played with it in Pandemonium mode, and he had the tactic that would cast like a spell or something, and it would blow up.
Ignite.
Oh, jeez, I hated that. I love that. That was the worst.
It was terrible, but
But
it was
was
awesome.
one extra thing you had to be aware of, like where you were positioning your units on the board, because it targets a unit and any opposing units directly around
just
that
blows
unit.
everybody up.
Yeah.
Right.
And so that was really cool. So that was our only kind of exposure to that expansion. So I'm looking forward to tackling that and talking about it on our next episode. I thought, even though I got my butt kicked in Onslaught mode over and over and over again, it was a blast. I had so much fun with it. The skirmish mode, Logan and I played that just 1v1. I feel like the combinations, the potential for how many different faction combinations there are. I mean, it's essentially if you had 5 boxes of Unmatched. I mean, you got tons of different factions, and they're similar, but they all have different abilities and play in a different way. And so there's kind of endless potential there. I thought the 1v1 was great. I got my butt kicked there too. The quality, the production, it's amazing. I would love to play Victorum. I'm excited to play some of the other expansion stuff. Quality is amazing. This is my real first experience with chip theory games. I've almost bought Too Many Bones multiple times. I've almost bought Victorum many times. This did not disappoint at all. There's plenty of content here. There's times where you get a game and it has 5 different modes, and it's like, well, I'm never going to even try that. I don't feel like that at all with Victorum, with Remastered. I feel like I am going to love trying out and playing these different modes over and over and over again, and I look forward to it. I really enjoyed my plays of it. It's challenging. It makes you think in different ways and outside of the box, and the overall experience was great. So my final score is going to be a 79.
79.
79.
These are I don't understand what that means. Like
It's
clearly I know what
quite
it
an
means.
80, right? I mean,
Right? 79 is one less than 80. What are you talking about?
Yeah. And take that for what it's worth, right?
exactly.
Yeah. I mean, Hoplomachus Remastered, I believe, has an 8.0 rating on BGG. So I think I like it almost as much as everybody else.
On average.
Yeah. Slightly less, though. So, yeah.
1 point.
You're slightly hipster.
Yeah.
Not quite. Okay.
I support that rating.
Yeah, thank you.
Clearly.
Thank you. Yeah. And Tyson does too by his previous ratings. So.
Yeah, exactly.
I've never done 79. I did a 5, a halfway.
Hoplomachus Victorum is an 8.4 on BGG. So, you could have gone up to 8.3 or 83.
I could have. You're right. I did it. I could have.
All in all, the overall experience was fantastic.
That's good. It was a good game.
Sometimes we get games to review, and after a couple plays, it's like, I like this, but I'm done playing it. And I don't feel like that at all with this.
No.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Well, that's the thing is that I sunk a ton of time into this game, and I'd happily play it more, right? Like, I'm happy. There is still tons of stuff I didn't see. I was so excited to play Set as a Scion who has, like, 10 different chips. And
I thought you were talking about the Mensa game Set.
Oh, no. Yeah, that's a great game.
That game's terrible. Yeah. No.
That's a great childhood memory game for me.
Well, I shouldn't say terrible, but it breaks my brain. Go, continue.
No, all I would say is that it was such a unique style of playing with him that like it excites me to see that there's like 10 other maybe like different Scions I could do. You mentioned, Tyler, that like you loved playing with the Vesuvian Factor and seeing all that content for Remastered. Well, I love the idea. Like I want to play more Remastered, and I want to mix in like the units from Atlantis with the Atlantis Remastered units, because we didn't even talk about that. Those units, while they're the same faction, they're completely different units, and so there's no Leviathan in Victorum.
I love that Leviathan.
So like, how do I get different like units in Victorum that like complement these different units that are already there? It doubles the size of your potential things, and you can do the draft in that at that point.
Okay, nice.
Yeah. Whenever we review a game that I like, I just want to go play it.
Yeah.
Right? Because we talk about it and I get excited about it again.
Pandemonium mode.
I would even try that again. So it's great game.
Yeah, no, I overall very satisfied with our experience of this. That is the Hoplomachus system.
Nice. I think that wraps up our episode.
That's right.
That was fun doing a feature review and being at the table again with you guys. I need more gaming in my life.
Yeah, let's get more gaming.
Let's do it.
Yeah, let's do it.
So thanks for listening. Thanks for listening to this episode of the Longest Turn Board Gaming Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode and you want more Longest Turn in your life, please check us out on Instagram. Also, be sure to check us out on Board Game Geek, where you can join our guild, Guild 3947, and check out our blog, where we post all our show notes and occasionally post more detailed reviews. If that's not enough for you, we have a Discord server. If you want to play a game with us on Board Game Arena, join our Board Game Arena group, The Longest Turn. Until next time, thanks for listening.
Tot ziens.
Goodbye.
See you later.
Hockey playoffs are around the corner. I'm always excited
man.
about that, even though my team is not going to make it.
My team is, and I think they've got a shot.
Yeah.
They're pretty good this year.
They're playing well right now. The Avalanche.
Avalanche, they made some good changes, so we'll see what happens. Everybody's got to stay healthy. We'll see. Yeah.
And off of cocaine and...
Oh my gosh. If that happens for the third year in a row, I mean, 3 strikes, you're out, buddy.
You gotta keep your energy up somehow, though, Kevin. Come on.
There's other ways. All right. There's other ways.
Is there?
The Nuggets fired their coach and GM. I don't know.
Right before the playoffs?
I don't want to get into basketball. I had fun watching March Madness, but I did see that right before the playoffs, and I was like, wow.
That was the weirdest move. I don't understand. I'm not watching basketball either. I didn't even watch March Madness, but it's all hockey all the time for me.
Yeah.
But
Let's do it.
we could. Yeah, let's do it.
We could keep talking about sports.
I'll keep making snide comments about cocaine and other things like that if we keep talking about sports.
I'm hoping you do.
We could talk about Sanderson.
Oh, I could
Pre-order.
And the first game we have to talk about.